invitation. I'm definitely new to this table in more ways than one, and so I really appreciate the invitation and the open door. I'm here to represent Salina Shares, and Salina Shares is the official name for me and my friends. It's for about a year, my friends and I were out doing things, and people would say, "Who are you with?" And I would say, "It's just my friends and I." And so finally we came up with the name Salina Shares. Kesu was there that day when it happened. And so it just sounds really much more official and legit. But it's just me and my friends. And honestly, Facebook has given new meaning to friends. And so what's happened with Salina Shares is, honestly, I've been getting friend requests. I just got one a couple days ago from a lady that said, "I'm a friend of so-and-so's. I want to know of needs and see if there's a way I can help." And I'm like, awesome. So it's really grown. I would say it's clusters of friends all over town that are interested in sharing their time, their strength, their stuff, you know, and it's just different every day. And so I passed around a paper. I don't know if I made enough. I hope everybody got one. And just because there's not just one thing Salina Shares does, it's pretty random and it's pretty unstructured. And so I did this acronym just to help me kind of hit some of the things of what we actually do. So the first one, we do share ourselves, our strength, our smiles, our stuff. We find different ways to meet needs in the community, and it can be as basic as an encouraging note and a smile. A couple years ago, I got an email from a gal that I did not know. We had a mutual friend, and she said, "I don't understand all that you do, but I want to be a part of it." She said, "I have a strong back, I have a truck, I can smile, I can," you know, and she listed all these non-material things, which I loved. And I said, she is perfect for Salina Shares. And she's been a part of it ever since. And she's used all those things in all her resources. I have another gal who came to me and she said, "Well, I have no money. I have nothing to contribute in that way. But I'll tell you what, she has a personality very different than mine. She's a go-getter and she's not afraid to kind of bust in and ask whatever, whenever. And I need people like that because I'm not like that." And so, so a couple weeks ago, the business next door to her business where she works was going on business. They were literally throwing everything in the trash, everything. So there were file cabinets, there was shelving, there was organizational bins, there just all sorts of things. And so she went over there and asked, "Why are you throwing this away?" And they said, "Well, we're from Wichita, we're just closing this store and we don't know where to take what." And she said, "Well, if I know somebody that can use it, can we take it?" So we were over there almost dumpster diving through all this stuff. And so Salina Shares is really a lot of people with ears and eyes out in the community, looking not just for needs, but on the other end of that, great deals, free resources, deeply discounted resources. And so the more people that kind of join in, the more this thing has just grown. So I have certain people out there always looking for bargains. One of them happens to be sitting at this table. But I also really want to give her a shout out because, Amanda, will you raise your hand, please, real quick? She's new to this table too. Amanda and I did not even know each other a year ago, did not even know each other. Amanda does the Wellness Tote Project. Maybe some of you have heard of that. She takes wellness totes into Tammy Walker and different cancer centers. And so I think you were just online looking at community stuff. She found Laundry Loves, which is another thing I'll talk about in a few minutes that Salina Shares does. Brought over quarters, and it was like an instant friendship, or like instant connection. Well, months later, if you can imagine, all this deeply discounted stuff and these great resources are like in my spare bedroom, in my closet, in my living room, in my dining room, and literally Amanda would bring stuff over and she's like, "Oh my gosh," you know.
I think there were 100 pairs of shoes in her living room.
There were.
That was kind of the life.
There were, because, okay, here's an example. Kmart had a great deal. It was buy one pair of shoes, get the second for $1, but it applied to their clearance shoes. So you could get a $7.99 pair of clearance shoes plus the second one for $1. So I had a bunch of people go buy shoes. We just gave out 75 plus new pairs of shoes for kids going back to school in a very needy neighborhood north of town. So yeah, so when she came over, they were stacked in my living room. Well, we meet for dinner probably a month later, and she said, so let's talk about a building. And I said, oh, I know, don't I need a building? I really do need a building. And she said, I have a building. I said, what? Well, the company that her family owns had part of their warehouse that had just been a catch-all for about 15 years. And she said, it's not the best, but if you're willing, and I'm like, yes. Anyway, so how in the world does that happen where you get building space free, right? We all know it just does not happen. This is the way everything has happened with Salina Shares. And so Amanda, thank you so much. I know I thank you all the time, but she's made it possible really for us to buy those things when they're really cheap, or take what we know are really good items from good homes to make available for people later. I may not know of somebody immediately, but so we've been able to take in some furniture and different things and have that to give away. So that building space has been huge, and so thank you again so much. But that really is honestly the way Salina Shares works. It's very, it's just a huge puzzle. Like everybody's got different pieces of the puzzle, and they throw in their piece, and they throw in their piece, and it works, and needs are met incredibly. So that's really the basis of Salina Shares. The H, one of the things we really want to do is release hope in people, because some of the situations we go into feel really hopeless. They really do. And there's a verse that I love. In one version it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. In another version it says, unrelenting disappointment leaves you heart sick, but a sudden good deed can turn life around. That's kind of the basis of Salina Shares. A sudden good deed can turn life around. Have any of you ever had anybody just pay for you in the drive-thru? You were behind them and they, I mean, doesn't like your heart leap? It's like such a little thing, but those little acts of kindness can really make a difference in our days. And so releasing hope is something that's really important to us. That's kind of why we do things. Recently, this week, Friday, there was a gal I had been working with. She was living in a hotel and had run out of money for the hotel. She was just trying to find a place for her 4-year-old to live. She was basically going to be homeless, and thought somebody intervened, thought she had gotten an apartment. I had lined up some furniture for her, and the thing fell through. She called me Friday and she said, I'm not getting the key, it fell through. Thank you anyway. And I didn't know quite what to do with that. Well, Monday, she texts me, Monday afternoon, says, I get the key at 3. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I had told everybody that I did have lined up. No, never mind, And anyway, so I got a hold of everybody. We moved in Monday night. We moved in living room furniture, and Tuesday morning a bed, and Tuesday noon we took food. When we came back Tuesday noon with the food, she started crying, and she said, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was going to do about food. She had never mentioned that as a need, but what I came to find out is her mom lives in New York, and she's the one that intervened, sent her the money for this apartment so that she wouldn't be homeless and could have her daughter with her. So there, little things like food. Usually, I know there's a lot of different agencies, there's a lot of different places people can go for food, different churches and the food bank in different places. And so we don't do a lot of that because we have no budget. And so we try and not overlap what we're doing because we have so little money to work with, really. And so, but anyway, releasing hope is huge. The A, I would say, is affirming dignity for people. Somebody said that we're restoring it, and I said, I take issue with that. I feel like each person has dignity. We just are affirming it. And so the biggest way we do that in a lot of ways, but I feel like our Laundry Love program really speaks to that. Laundry Love is a national initiative. It began in California 13 years ago. And And we implemented in Salina January 2014. And one of the reasons was we had been up on the north end of town a lot. There are no laundromats up there. There's a lot of people living in hotels, and they just don't have an option for laundry. And so, and it wasn't anything any other agency was doing that we knew of, was paying for people's laundry. So we opened up first at Southgate, which is now called the Missing Sock, and we'll pay for up to 5 loads of laundry per person. On the other side of your sheet, I did put just the nuts and bolts facts of Laundry Love, so you'll have that, because it's a lot to remember. But in the course of our time there, the people that owned Southgate also acquired West Crawford and Speedy Wash. And we had already been in the laundromat for about a year, so he came to me and he said, you know what, you guys are welcome to go into either one anytime you want, do anything you want. And we're like, yes, you know, because sometimes that's the hardest part, is to get permission from the laundromat owner. So we started West Side in March of this year, and we are starting at Speedy Wash in September. So we're really excited about that. Speedy Wash, we're going to have to work differently because it's so small, and we feel like we can't do the 5 loads of laundry per family. That would be 3 families in there at a time. And so we are doing fewer loads, hoping to help more people. And so we're really excited about getting into Speedy Wash. And if there was one further north, we'd be really trying to get into that one. So anyway, Laundry Love, you know, it all, I recently went to the first ever Laundry Love gathering, the conference for different people doing it all over the United States. And one of the things they said is, we want to be sure you tell people how this all started. So it started with a homeless man named T-Bone that they were working with, and they said, you know, T-Bone, what could we do to really make a difference in your life, you know, to come alongside? And he said, well, maybe if I had clean clothes, people would treat me like a human being. And so that message is tied to Laundry Love throughout, is that everybody deserves that dignity. They deserve clean clothes and clean bedding, and so we're excited to open up that third Laundry Love facility. Also on that sheet, I have places where you can drop off donations. There's places in town that have these, and I give them this little sign here, and it's pretty diverse. We have 2 hair salons, a bar, Pella Windows, Mahaska Bottling, and I tried to do that to have a north point and a south point to drop off, and not just central Salina. And you know, it varies. When I go pick up, tomorrow is Laundry Love, by the way, so today I'll make the rounds and pick up all the collections. It's ranged from 60 cents to $60, seriously. And so I just never know, you know. The guy that ownership has since changed at West Side. It's now Quick and Clean. It's owned by a couple, and he works full-time at Mahaska Bottling. So he's the one that got us to be able to put this in there, and then they donated a bunch of waters and flavored drinks and stuff to our Laundry Love. So that was awesome too. But anyway, if you have a business or you know of somebody that would be interested in putting one of these out for collection, I brought a few. Or if you're just an individual that would love the same quarters for me, you can have one of these too. It's handy dandy. You just put your quarters in there, and it actually holds $20 worth of quarters. So Laundry Love will be something that we're continually trying to fund. We have had that open door to Speedy Wash for months now, but we didn't want to start it till we knew that we could follow through, that we had enough money to carry us through, you know, without having to say, oops, we can't do this, sorry. But we're always looking for different places for our Laundry Love containers. What's that?
Laundry detergent.
Yes, laundry detergent, dryer sheets. We do, yeah. Yeah, we do. Laundry detergent and dryer sheets. What's that?
In the warehouse?
It's in the warehouse.
It smells very good.
It does. You walk in there, it smells like laundry, dryer sheets. Yeah. Yeah, and that used to all be in my house. It was like at every nook and cranny of our kitchen, and yeah. I was always apologizing for my house. Well, I still am. Who are we kidding? But anyway, it's nice to have one big shelf, all of laundry detergent. I have a couponer that she always, I never have met her face to face. She always drops it off at Hair Fair. And they'll call me and they'll say, the first time it was, I want to say 17 bottles. Yeah, we just had a lady drop off 17 bottles of laundry detergent, and okay, and you know, and then it's 2, 4, 6, however many, you know. There was a certain kind of dryer sheet that went on clearance at Dillon's. Oh my gosh, I probably have dryer sheets for about 3 years now, but anyway, we do take donations of supplies too. R is for random acts of kindness. That's really the way this whole thing began, and is continued to run pretty randomly. We have no budget and no monthly meetings. So how's that for an organization? The only time we get together is when we do something. So we do meet in January. We kind of figure out a calendar for the year and brainstorm about what we'd like to do that, you know, we haven't done, or but most of what we do is week by week what we hear of, what we have donated. We'll get things donated and think, okay, now how can we use this? So our events, or whatever you call them, our outings is what I call them, are more based on what we have. Who can use this the best? There was one time I went to one of the stores in town. The signs were conflicting. One said 70%, one said 90%. I wanted to know. So I took stuff up and said, could you tell me, you know, what this rings up as? And it rang up as a penny. So I went back and like whoosh, put everything in my cart, and he came back and he said, you know, I can't guarantee that that's all going to ring up as a penny. And I said, I know, but I'll take my chances. And it all rang up as a penny. I ended up with hundreds of pieces of clothing for about $5. So then it's like, okay, where do we give this? You know, how can we, you know, we kind of, and that was all in my closets. We didn't have the building yet. But dollar clothing, that still happens, where you can find clothing for $1, and we sweep that up. We give it to back to school. If it's winter clothing, we give it for Christmas. We've done.
Army of shoppers.
What's that?
You have like an army of shoppers.
Yeah, I have I don't have a small army, but I do have certain people that are out there, because I work full time. Hello. It's like, you know, it used to be they'd call me and say, there's this great deal, so and so, and I'm like, good, can you pick up 10 or whatever I could afford, you know what I mean? And now I have these certain gals that they'll just buy whatever if it's a great price, which is awesome. So that's really helped a lot. We've done things. We took solar lights to over 200 homes to brighten their neighborhood. We put encouraging notes in library books. We really have a community north of town that has really settled into our heart, and we keep going back there. We keep providing at different times of the year for them. And just 2 weeks ago, my husband and I were invited to one of those couples' weddings that live together in that trailer park, and we were so excited. We said, this is like what the last 2 years has been for, is relationships, you know, because from the very beginning we didn't want to be, you know, the good fairy dropping off stuff. We wanted to be community with them and know their names, and anyway, so we keep going back to one particular neighborhood over and over. We leave hand warmers and scarves and gloves at bus stops. We do a lot of bus stops. And just, this fall, winter, we're going to be tying scarves around trees. I don't know if you've seen this idea. It's been online quite a bit, but we have one gal that got really excited about this, and people have already dropped off 50 scarves. But if you look at the picture, there's about 4 or 5 around each tree. So we're looking at doing this in parks, at near bus stops, and so that's it. I mean, random, right? It's just random. It really is random stuff. The dental clinic that came here, we said, ooh, we should do something for the dental clinic. And so the first night, 2 nights before the dental clinic opened, at the Bicentennial Center, there were people lined up already. It was really cold that night. It was really cold. And so we took hot chocolate and pizza to those that were there 2 nights before. Then the night before we went, and we took hot chocolate and snacks. The line was much longer, many more people. And then we got in that next morning, the next day actually, of the dental clinic, and from up above we did a flash mob. It was so fun, but really random, you know. So I guess, you know, there's no one thing that we do, and it's, just what we can think of to brighten people's days and do different things. The E would stand for two things. First of all, the realization in so many of our minds that, you know what, we have enough. We have enough. We honestly do. We have enough stuff. And it's amazing how when this wasn't Salina Shares, when it was just my friends and I would hear of these needs, and I should say, full disclosure here, Salina Housing was our first partnership. Sue called me and said, I heard that you have this group, and she made it sound like, an organization or something. I'm like, no, that's not me. And she's like, well, you're the head of this women's thing. I go, no, I'm not, And anyway, once we worked it out, I realized, oh, she's talking about our random acts of kindness. And anyway, so Sue gets needs to me. I make them known, and we provide for a lot of families in Salina Housing. And now I have case managers from Central Kansas Mental Health calling and emailing me too. So we do what we can when we can, is what I say. I never know what I'm going to have, so call me and see. I probably won't have a bedder or dresser. Those are like gold. But pots and pans and towels, I probably have them. So
you would take donations of a sofa bed.
A sofa bed.
My husband
Yeah, my husband will hate moving it. My poor husband, he's like by default, I was recently at a conference, and they had us take a goal and do a short-term, mid-term, and long-term. Well, my goal was to find a moving team, so my poor husband isn't moving furniture every weekend. And the facilitator said, I think in your first your short term would be that your husband sell his truck. Because as long as he has a truck, you're going to be moving stuff. So I told Steve that when I got home. Anyway, if truth be told, his heart has quite softened through this whole process, and the people that we've met and the things that we've been able to do. I think deep down he really likes it, but he does do the brunt of all the moving. So we do take donations of stuff. I went to a garage sale this morning, surprise, and it was actually kind of an estate sale, but I knew the girl, it was her grandmother who had passed away. There was tons of kitchen stuff, and I'm like, oh, and somebody was walking out like with a thing of towels, and I'm like, oh, we need those. Anyway, she was swamped when I was there. I bought stuff, mostly all kitchen stuff, and some bedding. And when I got back to work, I Facebook messaged her and just said, hey, this is Debbie. I know you didn't have time to talk, but if there's any kitchen stuff left tomorrow when you close up, can I have it for Salina Shares? And she's like, absolutely. So last weekend, there was a garage sale that had a ton of children's books, and in great shape. And one of our Salina Shares gals lived a block over, saw it, contacted me, and at the end of that garage sale, she went and picked up all those books that were not sold, which was most of them. Great children's books. One of the things we do is we keep the Hawthorne little library at the Hawthorne Spray Park. We keep that stashed. It's stuffed full. So I went up there, filled that up again, and we love to give away books. We give away books at Laundry Love. We give away books everywhere, just trying to get books into kids' hands. So that was awesome. I mean, 3 big boxes of books, and they were on our front porch, and my husband's like, do you know there's stuff on the front porch? I said, yeah, I know what those are. Anyway, so garage sale extras we take, housewares. The things that I am always in need of are sheet sets, all sizes, silverware, towels, and pots and pans. Those are the main things those are the basics that people are always asking for. And so anyway, you can see there's no rhyme or reason really to it. It's just been amazing how God has provided. It is amazing to me. Casey will give me this list from a gal of stuff she needs, and I'll think, there is no way. I mean, last week it was 2 twin box springs was one, and I'm like, who has just the box springs? And by the end of that day, I had 2 twin box springs. It's like, what? And again, that was somebody that I don't really know. I've met her once, and she saw 2 twin box springs on Buy Sell Trade. She bought them, and we picked them up and delivered them. So it is a huge effort. I tell people when we deliver stuff all the time, they're always thanking me, and I'm like, you know what? There are so many people that made this possible. I mean, whatever we're delivering to you, you know, I wasn't the only one that bought it. I just get the joy of delivering it, you know. But there's so many people as a part of Salina Shares that are just, everybody's doing what they can when they can, and it just is amazing how it works. So that's it in a nutshell.
Any questions?